Hi, this is Alki, and welcome back to my channel. You may have seen yesterday I had a video about, about Bloomberg. For those who don't understand what the heck I'm talking about, well, we'll go back to the year 1999. That's when a group in a transit union called New Directions was trying to raise up and take over the union to improve a very bad situation that was going on, and the old leadership of the union, practically from the bus division, was practically shoving the subway division under the bus, as they would say. So the story with the Bloomberg situation actually started in 1999. Well, back then we had what is now the lawyer for the president of the United States, was then Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Apparently, an incident took place around contract time in year 1999. New Directions was at a place called Manhattan Center, listening to the latest contract proposals, and apparently around the same time, an incident took place on the subway. Apparently, somebody sabotaged a switch at the 34th Street and 8th Avenue station. So, they try to blame this on the New Directions people, but didn't have no proof. But yet they were harassing employees, trying to locate who the heck did this. As far as I'm concerned, the saboteurs had to be either the old guard management leadership of the union or management, or both. We didn't, because they never found the people who was involved. So then Giuliani decided with a judge not only to hit the union with the court order threatening with a law called the Taylor Law, that is, for every day you are on strike, you get hit 2 days' pay. The union gets hit double. Now they wanted to double that on top of it. So Giuliani made the situation worse. And to this day, we still haven't found the saboteurs. But like I said, it either had to be management or the old guard leadership who were the saboteurs. Because quite frankly, somebody on the street just can't operate one of these switches. Because the understanding is these things are heavy. They're worked by pneumatic air. And to crank one of these things, it'll take you 45 minutes. So obviously somebody with expertise knew how to operate these switches. So unfortunately, the situation is from 1999, that extra nonsense from that incident was added to the Taylor Law in 99 and 2002 and 2005. By then, New Direction, a year later, won and took over TW Local 100. The old guard had ended, to the dismay of Rudy Giuliani. So his efforts went poo-poo. So you probably figure out where he got his ideas for whatever he was doing in Washington. So, by the way, we're not trying to make fun of the Trump administration. So, we're trying to explain the Bloomberg stuff. So, afterwards, in 2001, Giuliani was leaving office, and we were trying to elect a new mayor. And on the Democrat field, there was a lot of candidates. And this particular person, Michael E. Bloomberg, who was a Democrat at the time, decided to run on the Republican side. So that's one thing he didn't tell you when he made the apology about the stop and frisk, that he was running and became mayor as a Republican, not a Democrat, a Republican. Years later, he would go from Republican to independent, and then from independent back to Democrat. He would change parties like Jennifer Lopez used to change men. The only difference is Jennifer Lopez had a good reason. He doesn't. And I apologize to Ms. Lopez. Anyway, so Roger DeSantis is the president of the union, and unfortunately, Roger DeSantis and Bloomberg had clashed many times. Noticeably, in the year 2002, during the contract negotiations, Roger DeSantis had to practically tell the mayor, Bloomberg, to shut up because he's pointing to talks. And Bloomberg fired back saying, "No, I'm the mayor of New York. You don't tell me to shut up. Sorry, dude, but you should have shut up because you don't know what the heck you're doing. You butt in when you're not supposed to. It caused a lot of problems." But he didn't. 2003, they had a huge strike on the private bus lines. There were 7 of them at the time. And we figured this is where this joker Bloomberg decided he's going to take the 7 private bus lines and shove it down the NTA's throat. Of course, Roger DeSantis again and the mayor clashed. And I guess the mayor wasn't really interested in the strike situation with the private lines. So you go, just throw it on the NTA. Well, the NTA did resist it, but unfortunately, what got the NTA to finally take over these lines was a form of blackmail. That Bloomberg and company decided that, hey, if you don't take over these private lines, we're going to delay you from getting the new railway cars on the Metro North lines. A lot of these cars were not working too well. They're coming at the end of their life expectancy. We had a train one day running, and the door open while it was moving in passenger service, and it stayed open all the way to Grand Central. So there was a lot of problems with these cars. And unfortunately, I guess this is why they caved in. What also happened is that Bloomberg was trying to seize the money that the city was giving for subsidies to these private lines, and he did not want to get the NTA that money. TW Local 1 had to fight tooth and nail to keep the money. That's something Bloomberg didn't like. So there was another problem. So eventually, the situation in 2005 got pretty bad. Because again, Bloomberg not butting out. There were tough negotiations between the union leader, Roger DeSantis, and then the NTA chairman at the time, Peter Calico, which he had a negotiated a contract successfully in 2002, but for some reason in 2005, even though they had enough money for the contract, there was some issue with pensions. Even though they were trying to point the blame on Governor Georgie Pataki at the time, we believe that it was Bloomberg all along who was the instigator in this situation. So this is the reason why they ended up on strike. Now, you can say, what about these 7 private lines? Well, the reason why I said he made the strike worse, as I said in the last video, is the fact that in the 1980s, when there was a transit strike, the last one, the private lines were running throughout the strike. And the strike lasted longer, between 11 and 13 days. This time, because they're on the NTA, all of a sudden, all the contracts were expiring, and all these unions were operating without a contract. Not just New York City Transit, New York Bus, and then Metro North Long Island Railroad didn't have a contract either. This is where a bad situation that unfortunately is repeating itself again. Like I said on another video, and Metro North, Long Island Railroad are running without a contract as well. So what happened is this time, when the strike did happen, 5 of the former private lines that went on strike was under New York City. Was under NTA. On the TW side, they went on strike. I understand that the Green Line, former Green Line, and the former Command, which is a different union, did not go on strike. Only the ATU union on Staten Island went on strike with TW Local 100. So instead of 7 lines running during the strike, you only had 2. So, and of course, it made the situation even more worse is after the strike, because now the passengers were furious with the employees, and this is leading to all the problems that we're having now. And of course, the management in the city and the state hit the transit system employees hard with the tail law and the extra penalties because of Giuliani that Bloomberg and company decided to use. So, as a result, Roger's son did end up going in jail. Basically because there was an incident in a fireman riding on his bike during the strike was hit by a bus that was hired by a financial firm, Burns and Stearns, that has since been out of business after the financial crisis of 2008. And the guy is just usually operates for picnics and stuff, not something he normally does, operating a bus in the city. So, made an error. He runs over. Of all the firemen he had to run over, whose father was a big shot in the Republican Party. So, of course, okay, I went back. The fireman was riding a bicycle in the bitter cold of December. When he got hit, he needed emergency surgery to repair the damage. At that time, also, they had a change in the way people drove into the city. If you need about 4 people to go in certain lanes, like a carpool. Otherwise, you're not allowed below certain street, like 96th Street. Sort of like congestion pricing is when it happens here. Well, unfortunately, the surgeon that they needed to repair the damage was further up, and he didn't have enough people to get into the area. So it was a clever ploy. He grabbed his whole family, so they're all in the car. He was able to ride down, get to the hospital, do the surgery. Well, that fireman's mother became a household name because she was blasting TWU, blasting Roger's son, and unfortunately didn't help the employees between 2005 and until November 2011. So Bloomberg was taking credit also for what's happening, how he handled the strike and so on. But unfortunately, that was going to be short-lived in about 2011. But the main problem is that There's a lot of stuff he did wrong. Stop and frisk was one of them. What he didn't tell you also was there was a law at the time that you're only allowed 2 terms. Bloomberg should have finished at the second term, but decided to stay on from the third term, changed the laws, irritated a lot of people. That's something he probably will not be talking about, but you should bring that up. Anyway, so employees getting treated badly after the strike, Roger someone into jail, heavy fines and all that stuff. And then, lo and behold, crazy stuff starting to happen. Number one, arbitrator ruled that the vacations that were canceled by a certain transit officials was illegal because it violated another arbitrator's decision. So that was what destroyed my union career. I can thank Bloomberg for that. So you see why I have a beef with you, Mr. Bloomberg. You cost me a lot. And nothing would make me more happy to make your presidential bid go down the toilet. So, on with the story. That's not the only ruling. In 2011, the ILO was investigating the strike. Roger Sun provided all the materials. They were looking into it. And in November of that year, a very shocking decision was handed out by the ILO. They ruled the strike was, in fact, legal. The heck with the tail law. They ruled the strike was legal. The United States is a member of the ILO, and they determined they violated 2 other the charter rules involving the strike. So technically speaking, the employee should not have been penalized. Roger's son should not have been gone to jail. And furthermore, they should have gave back the money they took from the employees and the union. So that's over $400 for the employee and over $1 million or $2 million from the union with interest. But that hadn't happened, and Roger's son didn't get what's the word I'm looking for? Pardoned. That hadn't happened. So, that's where we're still in limbo on that. Of course, we talked about Bloomberg getting a 3rd term he didn't deserve. And, he stayed in the city mayor for 4 more years. Which is all this crazy stuff happened. The state legislature around 2008 had a new governor. He was a Democrat. The Senate in the state went Democrat for the first time in a long time. That didn't last long. Then you had chaos up in Albany. All of a sudden, because the new governor was Spitzer, didn't last long. Sex scandal, boom, he was gone. Then Patterson came in to replace him. By that time, we had a very good NTA chairman and a good TA president. Unfortunately, when Patterson took over, the rejects from the Muppets came back and started to crap again. So in 2013, they tried again to hit us with the tail law. They were going to go to court, claiming that we were doing a slowdown with no proof, despite the fact the news media was riding the trains. They didn't find no train slowing down. They dropped it only after 2 people got run over or got hit by a train at the same stop on 125th Street, shut down the Lexington Avenue line right before rush hour. Big embarrassment for the MTA. So, like Dumb and Dumber. And of course, the infamous snowstorm of 2010, the day after Christmas. Nobody declared an emergency, and the snow got worse and worse and worse, and they declared an emergency on the same day the snow started to fall. 11 o'clock in the morning, it should have been 11 o'clock at night before. So Bloomberg popularity went down the toilet after that, completely. So when the decision came that the strike was legal, they put the final kibosh on the Bloomberg administration. So you're wondering what the heck with the private line business? Well, two of the private lines, in fact, were still private when they went on strike in 2005. Those employees never got fined with the tail law. In case you didn't know that, Mr. Bloomberg. So, and yes, he's been advocating gun control and other stuff, but what he did at City Hall those 12 years is not something that people want to forgive and forget. So basically, the reason I'm doing this video the second time is when he's going to try to run president, that means he has to go to every state. We want everybody in the state to realize this guy is not what he's cracked up to be. Please do not elect this clown president. Send him home. Back to New York. You already have candidates running. You have a guy from Massachusetts running. And, well, he said, it's time to get woke. Don't know what that means. Maybe he's thinking, hey, guys like Bloomberg ain't woke. They're still asleep. So this is Al Can saying so long for now. And don't forget your stop. Oh, and one other thing. Because of the financial crisis and what happened with the private bus lines takeover, Long Island Bus is now nice. Nassau Intercity Express. And they're not doing that great. Thank you, Bloomberg. You screw more people, and they would not even live in New York City.